There is an herb that Hebrew sages used for over 3,000 years, and it's sitting on a grocery store shelf right now for less than $5. Not a supplement, not a trend. An herb with a name in Scripture. If you're over 50 and you've been dealing with fatigue that won't quit, joints that ache before you even get out of bed, or a body that simply refuses to recover the way it used to, what you're about to hear was written for you specifically. This isn't someone's opinion. It's a plant with a documented history that predates modern medicine by millennia, validated by ancient Hebrew texts, confirmed by Scripture, and quietly proven by researchers who never make the evening news. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what this herb is, why the sages called it the king of medicine, what it does inside your body after 50, and the precise way to use it so it actually works. This channel exists for people who are done being handed a prescription and sent home without real answers. If that's you, 1 second is all it takes to subscribe. Every week I bring you the kind of information that used to stay buried. Most doctors won't mention this, not because they don't care, but because they were never taught it. Medical school spends less than 20 hours on nutrition across 4 full years of training. That's a published finding from the National Academy of Sciences. 20 hours. Meanwhile, the Hebrew sages of antiquity built entire healing systems around plants described in Scripture. Deuteronomy, Proverbs, the writings of the ancient rabbinical physicians, they all pointed to the same truth. Food and herbs were the first medicine. One herb sat above all the others. Black seed, known in Arabic as habatus sauda, and in Hebrew texts as ketsa, is described as a remedy for everything except death. That's not poetry. That's how seriously they took it. The prophet Isaiah referenced it in Scripture. The great Jewish physician Maimonides prescribed it. And today there are over 2,000 peer-reviewed scientific studies on this single plant. 2,000. Most pharmaceutical drugs reach the market with far fewer. Here is exactly what it does inside your body after 50, and how to use it correctly. Point 1. It fights the invisible fire destroying your body from the inside. Most of the chronic conditions that appear after 50, joint pain, heart disease, brain fog, crushing fatigue, even certain cancers, share a single common root cause: chronic inflammation. Not the kind you feel all at once, like a swollen ankle. This kind is slow, silent. It burns through your body's systems over years without a single obvious symptom until the damage is already done. Black seed contains a compound called thymoquinone. Thymoquinone is your body's internal firefighter. It doesn't mask pain. It works at the cellular level, interrupting the exact chemical signals your body uses to trigger inflammation in the first place. A study published in the Journal of Ethnopharmacology found that thymoquinone matched the effectiveness of common anti-inflammatory medications without the side effects that destroy your stomach lining and kidneys over time. After 50, your body's ability to regulate inflammation on its own begins to fail. That's not a flaw. That's biology. Black seed gives your body back the tool it lost. What to do? Half a teaspoon of cold-pressed black seed oil every morning on an empty stomach. Give it 3 weeks minimum. Thymoquinone builds gradually. It is a repair process, not an overnight switch. The next point surprises almost everyone, especially if you've been watching your blood sugar and getting nowhere. Don't stop watching. Point 2. It helps your body use sugar the way God designed it to. After 50, something shifts quietly inside you, and most people never find out until the damage is years deep. Your cells begin to resist insulin. That's the hormone that moves sugar from your blood into your cells for energy. When your cells stop responding, that sugar has nowhere to go. You feel tired after meals. You carry weight around your middle that won't move. Your energy crashes every afternoon like clockwork. That's not laziness. That's insulin resistance. A clinical trial published in the Journal of Endocrinology and Metabolism found that participants who took black seed daily for 12 weeks showed significant reductions in fasting blood sugar and measurable improvements in insulin sensitivity. Not minor improvements, significant ones. The Hebrew sages used black seed specifically for what they called heaviness after eating. That phrase is exactly how insulin resistance feels before it has a clinical name. They had no blood panels, but they observed. They recorded. They passed it down. Thymoquinone helps the beta cells in your pancreas function more efficiently, the cells responsible for producing insulin. Black seed doesn't just manage the symptom. It supports the organ causing it. What to do? A quarter teaspoon of black seed powder in warm water with raw honey, not processed honey, 30 minutes before your largest meal. Daily for 21 days minimum. Most people notice the afternoon crash begins to soften first. Point 3 is the one most people over 50 say changes everything. You'll understand why the moment you hear it. Point 3. It protects the brain you're going to need for the next 30 years. Let's talk about the fear most people carry quietly and never say out loud. Cognitive decline, forgetting a word mid-sentence, walking into a room with no idea why, feeling like your thinking has a lag. These are not inconveniences. They are early signals. Thymoquinone crosses the blood-brain barrier. That is the protective filter between your bloodstream and your actual brain tissue. Most compounds, including many pharmaceutical ones, cannot cross it. Black seed's active compound gets through. Once inside, it acts as a neuroprotectant. It reduces oxidative stress in brain cells, the primary driver of age-related cognitive decline. A study published in Evidence-Based Complementary and Alternative Medicine in 2013 tested black seed in elderly volunteers. After just 9 weeks, researchers documented measurable improvements in memory, attention, and cognitive processing speed. 9 weeks. The ancient Hebrew physicians called black seed the sharpener of the mind. They were watching the same thing those researchers confirmed, just without the laboratory. What to do? 1 teaspoon of cold-pressed black seed oil daily. Cold-pressed is not optional. Heat processing destroys thymoquinone. Look for cold-pressed or virgin on the label. Take it in the morning before your brain's workload begins. Point 4 is one almost nobody talks about, and it may explain why your body takes so long to recover from anything. Stay with me. Point 4. It gives your immune system the strength it had at 40. Your immune system is aging. Scientists call it immunosenescence. After 50, your body's ability to identify threats, build a defense, and recover from illness becomes measurably, clinically slower. That's why the same cold that cleared in 2 days in your 30s now takes 2 weeks. That's why recovery from anything, illness, injury, stress, takes longer every year. Black seed doesn't just stimulate the immune system, it modulates it. That distinction matters enormously after 50. Stimulation pushes everything up, which sounds good until you remember that autoimmune conditions become far more common with age. You don't want louder. You want to be smarter. Modulation brings an underactive immune system up and an overactive one down. It restores calibration. Thymoquinone increases the production of natural killer cells. Your body's first responder immune cells that identify and neutralize threats before they become full infections. A study published in Immunology Letters found that black seed extract significantly enhanced immune cell activity in human subjects within just a few weeks of consistent use. The Hebrew sages prescribed black seed every single winter for what they called the season when the body grows weak, 3,000 years before science caught up. What to do? 1 teaspoon of black seed oil daily during autumn and winter, or any time you feel your body beginning to falter. Mix into raw honey if the taste is too strong. Raw honey carries its own antimicrobial compounds. The ancient texts called this pairing a shield preparation. If you're finding this valuable, a quick like costs you nothing and puts this in front of someone who needs it just as much as you do. Point 5. It supports the lungs that have been carrying you every single day. Most people don't think about their lungs until they can't breathe properly. By then, the damage had been building for years. After 50, the muscles surrounding your lungs lose elasticity. Airways become more reactive to cold air, dust, and pollution. And the same silent inflammation attacking your joints and brain, it's attacking your respiratory tissue too. A randomized controlled trial published in Phytomedicine found that black seed oil supplementation significantly improved lung function measurements in participants with mild respiratory conditions. It reduced airway inflammation and increased the volume of air the lungs could move in a single breath. Thymoquinone inhibits the leukotriene pathway, the exact pathway that triggers tightening and swelling of airway tissue, the same pathway targeted by certain prescription asthma medications. Except black seed was doing it 3,000 years before those medications existed. What to do? 1 teaspoon of black seed oil mixed with 1 teaspoon of raw honey before bed every night. Respiratory inflammation peaks at night. Taking it before sleep puts the active compounds in your system at precisely the moment your lungs need them most. Point 6 touches something almost nobody talks about openly after 50. But every person watching this has felt it. Don't go anywhere. Point 6. It rebuilds what years of stress have been silently stealing from you. Life after 50 carries a weight that is different from anything that came before it. You may be caring for aging parents while watching your own children struggle, managing financial pressures you never expected, sitting with health concerns that never fully leave the back of your mind, even on good days. That kind of sustained stress locks cortisol at a chronic high. When cortisol stays elevated day after day, it dismantles you from the inside. It suppresses immune function, fractures sleep, accelerates cellular aging, depletes the brain chemicals responsible for calm, hope, and well-being. Research published in Metabolic Brain Disease found that thymoquinone produces measurable anxiolytic effects, reducing anxiety markers in a way comparable to certain pharmaceutical interventions without the dependency risk. It also supports the adrenal glands, the organs above your kidneys that regulate cortisol. When your adrenals are supported, your stress response becomes proportional again. You still feel stress, but it no longer parks itself in your body and stays. The Hebrew sages called this quality of black seed the restorer of what was taken. They were describing cortisol recovery without knowing what cortisol was. What to do? Half a teaspoon of black seed oil in the evening, separate from your morning dose. Evening is when cortisol should be at its lowest. Commit to 30 days before evaluating the effect on your sleep and stress. The change is gradual, but it is real. I saved point 7 for last deliberately because it ties everything together in a way you won't expect. Point 7. It protects the heart that has never once stopped working for you. By the time you reach 50, your heart has beaten approximately 2 billion times. 2 billion. Not one day off, not 1 hour of rest. And most people only begin thinking about their heart after something goes wrong. The walls of your arteries are stiffening. The lining of your blood vessels is becoming less efficient. Cholesterol particles are accumulating at an accelerating rate. And blood pressure is quietly creeping upward. Not because your heart is failing, but because your vascular system is losing the flexibility it once had. A meta-analysis published in the Journal of Hypertension reviewed black seed supplementation across multiple clinical trials. The findings were consistent across every study. Black seed oil produced meaningful reductions in both systolic and diastolic blood pressure. It reduced LDL cholesterol, the kind that builds arterial plaque, while leaving HDL, the protective kind, largely untouched. And it improved endothelial function, meaning the blood vessel lining began working more efficiently. Thymoquinone works through 3 pathways simultaneously. It relaxes the smooth muscle in artery walls, the same way calcium channel blood pressure medications do. It reduces oxidative stress in vascular tissue, and it produces a mild blood-thinning effect without the bleeding risks of pharmaceutical thinners. The Hebrew physicians prescribed black seed for heaviness in the chest and the sluggish movement of blood. They were describing reduced cardiac output and poor circulation. Every single time they reached for the same plant. What to do? 1 teaspoon of cold-pressed black seed oil daily with a small amount of food. If you are on blood pressure medication or blood thinners, speak with your doctor first. Not because this is dangerous, but because it works. and your dosage may need adjusting as your numbers improve. You came into this video knowing something wasn't right. The fatigue that sleep doesn't fix. The inflammation that moves from joint to joint. The sense that your body is working against you instead of with you. 3,000 years ago, the Hebrew sages already had the answer. They called it the king of medicine. They prescribed it for the heart, the lungs, the mind, the immune system, and the spirit. And today, compound by compound, study by study, modern science is confirming what they already knew. Here is the one thing most people get wrong after they decide to start. They try it for a week. They don't feel a dramatic shift. They stop. That is the mistake. Consistency beats dosage every single time. Half a teaspoon, every morning, 90 days. That is the protocol the ancient physicians described. That is the time frame modern studies use when they see the strongest results. Give it 90 days. Then decide. You will know. Drop a comment below and tell me which of these 7 benefits surprised you the most. Was it brain protection? Blood sugar? The way thymoquinone works on cortisol while you sleep? I read every single comment. Everyone. If you haven't subscribed yet, this is the moment. This channel exists for people who take their health seriously. People who want answers rooted in ancient wisdom and modern science. People who are done being told everything is fine when they know their body is telling them otherwise. Every week there is something new here waiting for you. I'll see you in the next one.